Hey YouTube, this is Southern Prepper 1. This is a follow-up video on the situation at the flea market with the gentleman that was selling the flags. I talked to him before I did that video. I actually talked to him, walked away, got about 100 feet past him, and a little old lady came up to me, and she was looked like almost tears in her eyes, and she thanked me for saying something. She said her father served in World War II, and if he would have saw that, he has since passed, that would have offended him. It probably would have offended a lot of people, especially the new guys, all these young soldiers that deployed to Afghanistan, to Iraq. You know, they're having a hard time readjusting back to society, and seeing that would not help them. I was very, very respectful. You can get a lot more with sugar than you can with a stick. So I just asked the man, you know, why he had him on the ground. And he said he didn't have any room and he wanted to sell them, and that's the best place so people would see him. He also had some on the hood of his truck. I asked him, you know, could we just at least move them all to the hood so they're not in the dirt? Because they were clearly in the dirt. And he said no, he didn't care. I asked him that, you know, that could offend some people, and he said, I don't care. He actually used a few other words in there. So I think he put money in front of the flag. Some of the comments were very disturbing. I think I eliminated 18 of them, banned a few people, just because they were very hateful. A lot of people said it's just a piece of fabric, a rag, a cloth. It means nothing. It does mean something. If you've never served, you can still love the flag, and I expect that if you're an American. That flag stands for something. You know, I hate the politicians of today. I am the first one to jump up and down and scream. But people are taking their frustrations out at the flag. It's not the flag. The flag represents all the great people that went before us. It represents that young Marine in the Pacific, in the jungle, fighting. It represents the U.S. Army soldier that was about ready to step off the landing craft on Normandy when he was gunned down by a German machine gun. Or the young troopers in Korea trying to stay warm, trying to stay awake on some high ridge, freezing. It represents all of those that went before us. Over 1 million people have died to protect our country. So when you disrespect that flag, you're disrespecting them. You can be angry with politicians, you can be angry with the government, because I am. But one thing I'm not going to do is disrespect the flag. Out of respect for those that went before us, that secured our freedom. Especially, think about the guys at Valley Forge. If you study that out, they were ill-equipped for winter. Some of them didn't even have shoes. They had rags wrapped around their feet. And when they walked through the snow, you could see exactly where they went with their bloody footprints. That's reality. So yes, you can hate the country, you can hate the route we're going, but don't hate the flag. Because a lot of people sacrificed a lot of things. When I see that flag, I see the red on the flag, the first thing I think of is that blood. I've seen the bloodshed. I've seen men bleed to death in front of me. I've seen people killed. And people say, oh, it's because of nationalism. It's because of statism. Trust me. That is the farthest thing from my mind. That was the farthest thing from those guys that perished. They didn't care about, you know, nationalism. You know what they did? They joined because they wanted to help people. They wanted to help our country. They wanted to be there to stand in the gap. Whenever the calling was. It could have been a full World War III. A foreign country invaded us. They signed up, wrote that check, and they said, you know what? Here's a blank check for my life. Politicians, please use it wisely. I have only one life to give. But our problem is politicians will use us and abuse us in the service. So yeah, hate the concept of what our politicians are doing. But sometimes in life, you just have to suck it up and say, you know what? I hate the government, what they're doing, but I'm not going to disrespect the flag because so many men and women died for that flag. And they died for it. They didn't even know what nationalism or statism. They were dying for it because they love their fellow countrymen. They want to protect their fellow countrymen. They wanted to do the right thing. They wanted to help people. So you have to look at it at that side. The only thing we really give the families of a deceased soldier, or Marine, Airman, Navy, sailor, we give them a flag. I've been there when we had to inform the next of kin of a death of a service member. That was very hard. I also escorted a fine sergeant. He was one of my soldiers. On another tour, he was killed. Seeing I knew him, I was in the States. I escorted his body. I picked it up, I believe, in Maryland, escorted it to Georgia. The hardest thing I ever did. We then, the honor guard, took that flag over his coffin. They folded it perfectly, handed it to the sergeant that was in charge of that detail, and he presented that to the next of kin. The next of kin was his wife. I knew her. This soldier was in my squad for a couple of years. He had 2 small children. I knew their names. His second child was born on my first deployment when he was still overseas. That soldier gave a lot. And eventually he gave all. And he wasn't fighting for politicians. He wasn't fighting for an unjust cause. He joined because he loved his country. So when I look at that flag, that red, that's part of him. That's his blood that was shed. So, sometimes in life, people suck things up not to offend others. And maybe some of you that says it's just a dirty old flag, it's a dirty old rag, just suck it up. Don't outwardly show disrespect for it. Because you're going to offend people that have lost loved ones. I totally encourage, be angry with our politicians. Be angry with some of the policies we have in this country. But take your wrath out where it belongs. Not on the flag that represents all those that went before us. Pave the way so you can have the right to say whatever you want. I know that man had the right to put the flag down there. This is America. But what disturbed me was people that passed by and never said anything to him. Like, hey, could you get the flag off the ground? I guarantee you, people walked by and saw that flag, and guess what? There's some of them that were given a flag by the United States government in honor of their fallen soldier. That could be disrespectful. The only thing that binds us together, we're just a mass of people. Really what should bind us together is the ideas of freedom, of liberty, of the Constitution. And that outward symbol of all that is the flag. We don't have a lot in common in this country. We don't have really a set religion, which is good. You can believe whatever you want to believe. We don't even really have a set language, because you can conduct business with the federal government in pretty much any language that you know. The one thing we have in common is our flag. So please show some respect to it, just for those people that have fallen, for their loved ones. Protest all you want, I encourage it. Holler, scream. We're going through a rough time in this country. A few years ago, we came within a few hours of financially collapsing. We're not much better off right now. If we have a financial collapse, we need to be strong. We need to have something to pull us together. Right now, everything is pulling us apart. The illegal immigration. There's people that encourage it. I encourage immigration, but I don't encourage anything illegal. We don't even have jobs for Americans right now. We are broke. We're borrowing money. And by bringing more people here, it's making it harder. We're borrowing money to take care of them. We can't even take care of Americans. Some of the comments were pretty rough. You have a right to think that. You have a right to type it out. But next time, before you do it, think of all those people that gave all, so you would have that right. And just out of a little bit of respect for their loved ones, their next of kin, don't take your frustrations out on that flag. Take it out where it belongs, on politicians, on policies. My son will be leaving in a few months, actually a few weeks right now. Less than a month, I think. He will be shipping off to Fort Benning, Georgia. He will be going through basics and AIT. He's doing exactly what I did, infantry. He's joining to help. He's joining out of respect for what we have. He is willing to write that check. He's not thinking about big government. He's not thinking about big companies or the big war machine. He's saying, I am happy to be an American. I am proud to be an American. And I'm going to earn my rights as Americans. I'm not just going to sit back and float through it. I'm going to put my mouth and my actions to prove that I'm an American. I'm proud of that. So when you see the flag, think of my son. He ain't fighting for big business. He's fighting for you. He's fighting for your rights. I'm going to go back next week. Just because I was actually looking for something, and because of the situation, it was the last thing on my mind. I just left. I hope he doesn't have them on the ground. If he does, I'm going to see if I can find some card tables for sale there and give them to him. And say, if you can have these if you take the flag off the ground, or the flags off the ground, put them on this table. I would appreciate it. Many other people would appreciate it. So we'll see. God bless America. Thanks for watching.